I'll never forget the look on Uncle Mitch's face the day he realized someone was stealing from the party fund. You know, it's funny, you go through life thinking you've seen every trick in the book. But people will always find new ways to surprise you, especially when there's free food or a little cash involved. But this one, well, this one was personal. See, Uncle Mitch was an old-school engineer in a little Midwestern town, ran his office like a well-oiled machine, and took his job as unofficial office party chairman very seriously. Every Friday, right outside his office, he'd set out this little tin box with a slot on top for party donations, so the Christmas shindig or the 4th of July barbecue could actually have something better than stale donuts and off-brand cola. Everybody knew about the box. People chipped in whenever they could, and it was kind of a tradition. It was one of those things that quietly held the whole office together. But then, one afternoon, just before Christmas, he opens up the box and, bam, empty. Not a single dollar. And I mean, he'd watch people toss in bills that week. He just stands there, shaking his head, looking like someone punched his dog. That's when Jason comes strolling around the corner, wearing that fake smile of his. Jason, the boss's nephew, the guy who always seemed to float above the rules. Because, well, family ties, you know. Mitch just says, just checking the party fund, and studies Jason's face, who's already squirming like a fish on a hook. You gotta understand, Jason had the kind of reputation you can only get when you're both entitled and utterly lacking in shame. He'd push, shove, lie, do whatever it took. But he was also slick, never left fingerprints. So, Mitch gets an idea, classic engineer thinking. He rigs up a hidden doorbell cam above the donation box, then asks his buddy Tom to play along. Hey Mitch, dropped $100 in the fund today. Tom yells down the hall, loud enough for half the office to hear. Mitch goes back to his office, just waiting, watching the feed. Sure enough, here comes Jason. The camera catches him, peeking in the box, cursing under his breath because it's empty, and then, this is my favorite part, he chucks the whole thing at the wall like a toddler. Nothing worth taking, he mutters. Mitch could have gone straight to the boss with the footage, got Jason fired, but nah. Engineers like to solve things their own way. And in this case, he decided to teach Jason and everyone else a lesson they'd never forget. He goes to his students at the community college, offers them extra credit for coming up with a booby-trapped box, one that'll make the most obnoxious sound possible when opened. The more humiliating, the higher the bonus, he says, and their eyes light up. They deliver. Boy, do they deliver. The box plays Let It Go from Frozen at full blast and doesn't stop unless you find a hidden button on the side. Once it goes off, the whole office hears it. So, the next day, Mitch announces, hey, somebody dropped $50 in the fund. Then he leaves the box out and waits. Not 10 minutes later, Let It Go starts echoing down the hallways, and you can hear Jason frantically slamming the box, trying to shut it up. Mr. Peterson, the owner, comes out of his office. Arms crossed, he knows exactly what's going on. Jason, my office. Now, 15 minutes later, Jason's clearing out his desk. There's a big red note on his file. Do not rehire. Do not recommend. Just like that, justice is served, musically, no less. At the Christmas party, Mitch played the whole video for everyone. If you ask me, there's nothing sweeter than seeing a jerk get exactly what's coming to him, right in front of a room full of people who know the whole story. And that's how Uncle Mitch taught us all that sometimes, the best revenge is just letting the bad guy hang himself with his own rope, especially if there's a Disney soundtrack in the background. Now, you want drama? You haven't lived until you've gone head-to-head with your mother-in-law over property. I never thought I'd be the guy at the center of a family brawl, but here we are, living proof that no good deed goes unpunished. 5 years into my marriage, my wife and I were living on this beautiful 3-acre plot I'd inherited from my granddad, old farmhouse, ancient oak trees, the kind of place you can actually breathe. The land was in my name. My wife was fine with that. Enter Karen. I'm not even being mean. Her name might as well be Karen, with all the attitude and entitlement that comes with it. She had a weird obsession with our property, always hinting that we weren't maximizing its potential. Her son, my brother-in-law, was a failed real estate developer looking for his next train wreck. One Thanksgiving, she sits down at dinner and hands me a stack of legal-looking papers. She announces, like she's the Queen of England, that she's arranged for her son to take over management of the land. We could stay as tenants, but everything would be in his name. She actually had the nerve to call it a favor. I laugh. I thought she was joking. Nope. She says, well, you're married, so it's community property, and I'm your wife's mother, so I get a say. The level of legal ignorance, my God. I tell her it's not happening, show her the door, and think, okay, that's the end of that. But Karen? She doesn't know when to quit. She spends months showing up unannounced with her son, giving him tours of the property, telling the neighbors we've sold out, and even tries to file a fake deed transfer at the county office. They shut her down so fast. The ink was barely dry. The county clerk actually calls me to laugh about it and warn me. But it doesn't stop there. One day, she shows up with a moving truck, demands the keys, and threatens to call the cops on me for trespassing on my own land. That's when I snap. Fine, I think. You want the land so bad. You can have it, just the way it is. I tell Karen I'll move out and let her son move in. All smiles. She can't believe her luck. Finally, she thinks she's won. But here's what she doesn't know. The property is a legal minefield. There's a massive tax lien from my granddad's second mortgage. The well and septic system need constant TLC. And the HOA, yes, out in the sticks, there's an HOA, only deals with the deed holder. So, I move out, hand them the keys, and wait. Within 2 weeks, the place is a mess. No taxes paid, septic tank overflows. The HOA files a lien for missed payments. The county sends code violation letters because Karen's son tried to remodel without a single permit. Meanwhile, Karen is online, bragging about her family's big win. That's when I strike. I file a police report for illegal occupation, hand over every deed, tax bill, and maintenance log I have. The cops serve them with eviction papers, and, just for fun, the county fines them for unauthorized renovations. Karen goes nuclear, screaming about her rights. But the law is the law. I sue for property damage, emotional distress, HOA fees, you name it. The best part? All her evidence is right there on Facebook. Photos of her breaking in, bragging about her property, fake documents, the whole 9 yards. The judge isn't impressed. Karen and her son end up paying me $30,000 in damages, plus legal fees. He has to file bankruptcy. She gets a restraining order, and her own kids stop talking to her. My wife is relieved, honestly, but it's bittersweet. I move back in, fix the place up, and let the grass grow right back overall. The chaos Karen left behind. I'll never forget the look on her face when the judge told her she'd basically just written herself into a criminal record, all because she thought she could take charge. And just so you know, if anyone tries to mess with your property, don't back down. Sometimes, the best way to win is just let them walk straight into their own disaster. Let me throw in a quick palate cleanser. One day, I come home to find some random SUV parked in my condo spot, even though the lot's nearly empty. The driver, some hotshot realtor, starts yelling at me when I ask him to move. Says management told him to park there. Yeah, right. So, I just park in a visitor spot, set my Bluetooth speaker in the window, and start blasting rap music out the window, loud enough to shake his car. 30 minutes later, he's gone. I don't know if I cost him a sale, but I hope it at least ruined his afternoon. Sometimes, you don't need a grand plan. Petty wins are still wins. Here's one from across the globe. A while back, an Australian hospital tried to railroad their staff with a restructure. That's corporate speak for layoffs, by the way. The unions are told they can consult, so they bury management in questions. 2,000 questions, actually. Management tries to brush them off with one-word answers, so back to court they go. The judge, already fed up, says, no, you have to actually consult. The whole thing drags on for 3 years. Most people get to keep their jobs, and the handful who get cut walk away with triple payouts. All because they followed the rules to the letter. Bureaucracy's a beautiful thing if you know how to use it. You want family drama? After my dad passed away, I tried to do the right thing, paid for family to fly in. For the funeral, booked hotel rooms, all that. Instead, my cousins bring uninvited guests, rack up the bill, trash my plans, and spend more time complaining than grieving. My half-sister, who never lifted a finger for my dad, shows up in a dress 2 sizes too small, throws a fit during my eulogy, and then snaps a selfie by the grave. By the end, I'm feeding people who barely know me, breaking up drunken squabbles, and paying extra fees for hotel rooms I never needed. You try to help, and some folks just take and take until you've got nothing left but the satisfaction of knowing you'll never have to see them again. Last story, picture this. I'm biking through town, in a hurry, and there's this little kid riding slow in front of me. I try to pass. She veers left. We both go down. Her dad shows up, loses his mind, threatens to call the cops, demands my ID. Then, when he realizes she's fine, suddenly cares more about the bike than his kid. Meanwhile, a total stranger patches us up and sends us on our way. Moral of the story? Sometimes, the real grown-ups aren't the ones with kids or fancy titles. They're the ones who just do what needs to be done and move on. So yeah, life's messy. People will test you. Sometimes, the only way to get justice is to let the chaos unfold and stand your ground. Now, I want to know, what would you have done? Where's the line between standing up for yourself and going too far? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me your craziest family or workplace revenge story, and let's settle it. What does justice really look like in the real world? If you made it this far, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's keep these stories rolling. I'll be watching for your comments. Can't wait to hear what you've survived, outsmarted, or just barely lived through.